Hi everyone, welcome to the Whiteleyverse with me, Connor Whiteley, for another daily story with a chapter from one of my novellas. Before I start today's chapter, please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you want to buy this book and any of my other fiction, then they're all available from all major ebook retailers. You can order the paperback and hardback copies from Amazon, your local bookstore and local library if you requested. Also, if you want the AI generated audiobook, then you can get it from selected audiobook platforms and library systems like Kobo, Spotify, Barnes & Noble, Google Play, Baker & Taylor, Biblioteca and Overdrive. Now, here's today's chapter. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did writing it.
Chapter 1. When are you going to get a boyfriend? University psychology student Scott Turner sat at a small black wooden table in one of Kent University's many delightful restaurants. He had always loved how many clubs, bars, and restaurants the university had catering to all different types of students. There was even a gay club at the uni, and whilst he would never ever tell his parents, that was basically the reason why he had chosen to come here. Thankfully, everything else had worked out. Scott liked this particular Italian restaurant on the campus the best. He enjoyed the creamy white walls that had little pictures of Italy, families, and past students celebrating their graduation. He was so looking forward to joining them soon in the summer. There was soft Italian music playing sweetly in the background that was just loud enough to cut through the chatting, laughing, and harsh meetings between the other students in the restaurant, without it being too loud and noticeable. Scott focused on the two cute men in the circular bar ahead of him. Everyone knew Tom and Bob had been together for years, ever since they had first come here 5 years ago, and now they were doing their PhD together. They were so cute together, and Scott really wanted that sort of love. He was determined to find it. His best friend Delia tapped her long red fingernails on the table, and Scott smiled at her. She was always more fashionable than him in her long blue jeans, white blouse, and expertly done makeup, but he would have been disappointed if her makeup was bad, considering her degree was in special effects. Scott still enjoyed it whenever she needed him to help her on any coursework. She was stunningly good at what she did. But he honestly didn't know when he was going to get a boyfriend. He wasn't shy or anything, but besides from the few hookups he had in first year, he had been so focused on his degree in his second and final year so far. It wasn't like there was any shortage of hot men around campus. University seemed to be a breeding ground for hot, fit young men, but Scott just didn't know how to approach them. He was almost embarrassed by how long it had been since he had asked a guy out, let alone slept with one. "How about we go down to Brighton or up to London this weekend?" Delia asked. Scott smiled, but he knew exactly the real reason why she wanted to go. "You just want to avoid your parents coming here." "Not true," Delia said, pretending to be offended. "It is just that I don't want to see them this weekend because I want a weekend to myself, and they only dropped me back here 2 weeks ago." Scott just smiled and shook his head. He really did love Delia, but he would have loved to see his parents as much as she did. His parents had moved back up north after living down in Kent for all of his life, so they could be closer to his grandparents, but that meant he couldn't see them as much. He would have loved to see them more. "How about we make a promise?" Scott asked. "I will do something this weekend towards me finding a boyfriend, and you will see your parents. And we can all go out for dinner together." Delia frowned. "They do love you. It is a real pain in the ass at times." Scott shrugged. "All parents love having a gay son, or in your case, adoptive son." Delia laughed. "They bloody would as well. If you wanted them to adopt you, they wouldn't even hesitate." Scott took a mocking bow. Delia's parents might have been snobbish at times, but they were such a laugh, such fun to be around, and they were some of the nicest people he had ever met. But he quickly realized he had not one idea at all what he would do to make good on his promise to Delia. He had baking society later on, so he could talk to Jason. He was hot but had an even hotter boyfriend, sadly. And Jason was involved heavily in the LGBT plus society at the university, so hopefully they would have something on sooner or later. Scott really wanted to meet a nice hot guy, not even for sex, but that was always a bonus, but more so he could just be with someone. Scott couldn't deny that men were precious, beautiful, and simply stunning, and he just wanted to be loved and have something more than a mere hookup. That was probably why he hadn't hooked up or tried a relationship for 2 years, because he wanted a real relationship. Everyone else just wanted a quick 5-minute blast of fun. And sadly, 5 minutes was all some guys could last. That was always a little sad. Anyway, what's this meeting you're having later? Delia asked. I have a lecture anyway. We're covering the best way to make fake blood for a budget production. That's a university-level topic? Scott asked. Of course, and the main topic takes about 10 minutes, then we spend the rest of the 2 hours learning more about the budget film industry. And I need this lecture for my essay, Delia said. More power to you, Scott said. He seriously couldn't imagine anything worse than that lecture. My meeting's on a 2-week research project I'm working on for more research experience. That's when to be a new person joining me too. Man, Delia said, leaning forward and winking. Scott smiled and shook his head. Probably nope. The only problem with studying psychology is that it is 90% women, and all the men that decide to study it are straight or not my sort of guy. Delia shook her head. You should have done sports science or another sporty degree. It's the opposite. Scott bit his lower lip. The sporty guys were hot as hell, but most of them were straight, cocky, and even if they weren't straight, some of them were a little bit too annoying for Scott's liking. But they were probably amazing at sex with their amazing bodies. Earth to Scott, Delia said as she stood up. Scott looked at her and smiled. See you later, she said, and Scott hugged her tight, and as she walked away he honestly had no idea at all how he was going to make good on his promise. He had to get a boyfriend, he just had no idea how to get one. Not a clue at all.
Welcome back everyone, it's me again, Connor Whiteley. So I really hope that you enjoyed today's story, because I flat out love writing, creating stories and sharing them with you. If you really enjoyed today's story, then please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithms. And if you want to buy this short story or any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers, and you can get them from your local library if you requested, and you can order the paperback copies from Amazon, your local bookstore or local library if you request it. Lastly, if you want to support the channel on a one-off basis, then you can now buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Connor Whiteley. Also, if you know anyone who would enjoy today's story, then please share it with them. I'm always really grateful when you wonderful people help spread the word about the channel. So, thanks for watching the Whiteleyverse, and I'll see you again soon. Have a great day, everyone.